All right, so answer a few more Q&As and got some loaded in the queue right now. We'll go through them. Just a couple of them today. So we got someone who's going on a long flight and they don't want to bring all 6 meals, and they're asking what's the go-to protein bar. Well, first off, they obviously are not going to bring all 6 meals, so they're going to be packing some meals to get through TSA, freezing 1 to 2, and allowing that to keep all the food cold and prevent any type of food poisoning. As long as you put it in a clear container, you can check it through TSA. And I would just get some silverware, like the plastic silverware from whatever food places are inside the airport that you're going to. So don't bring your own silverware; they will throw it away. And then ice packs, when you bring them, sometimes they melt, and then if there's over 2 ounces of liquid, they will ask you to toss it. Same thing like with frozen water bottles. They'll assess, and if there's what they deem over 2 ounces, they'll throw away. So maybe they're going to bring like 3 meals. It's a long flight, they said, so maybe there's a long layover. They don't want to buy airport food because if you're not going on a work trip, you can't expense it, and that's pretty expensive there. You'll end up paying like $30 or more just for like a meal that hits your protein needs. So, what protein bar really comes down to what you prefer as far as texture, flavors. Uh, do you want a protein bar that can withstand some heat? So, we have protein bars that do not have some sort of like chocolate coating on it, like Quest, for example. I would say that that would be my go-to when I'm traveling. That is my go-to because get the ones without the coating, like the chocolate coating on it, because they can withstand some of the heat. You can put them in the bag, they can get squished. I don't think they're that bad on the GI tract. I can withstand it. It doesn't give me any gas or bloating, but the popular ones out there right now, the David bars, they have some sort of uh, food engineering uh, ingredient that is able to bypass the GI tract, or the fat in it can bypass the GI tract by not being broken down under the heat. It can withstand higher temperatures of heat. So it's kind of like the idea of the old oligosaccharide that Quest bar used and a few other brands used back in the day. It made the bar very hard and chewy. And it also, after it sat on the shelf for a while, the textures changed to be even harder. And then the flavors kind of uh, dwindled off as well. So the David bar, I've had two flavors, these the chocolate chip and the birthday cake. They're chewy, man. It just reminds me of it. Plus, there's like some sort of coating on the outside as well. It gives a weird mouth feel versus a Quest bar. I think Quest bar without the coating is probably the way to go, in my opinion. But I would try a few of those bars out before you go on your flight just to see if it gives you any GI distress. Uh, and the David bars, I think they're a little bit more expensive, probably like $1 more expensive per bar. But there's a lot of controversy over that a newly innovated ingredient and some other ingredient in there too. I think is derived from like bugs or something. Doesn't surprise me. I've seen worse ingredients and how they're made. Um, but it just comes down to what you want in macronutrients in a bar. How's it going to help you hit those carbs, fats, and proteins? I would prefer something and lower in fat, higher, moderate in carb, and the moderate protein. Protein bars are going to be around 17 to 23 grams of protein. Their bars are 28, I believe, and 150 grams or 150 calories. So you can see where it kind of it's very tempting to buy if you're high protein, low carb, low fat because you're not going to be digesting the fat. I would just be scared that it would have the same effect as like Orange Roughy, where you get like the squirts from it, or like Olestat, where you get like anal seepage. So I would just be worried about that. The one bars are out there, but they're covered in chocolate coating. Bear Bells, they taste really good, but again, they're covered in coating, so if they get heated, it can become a mess. So, anyways, pick out some, try them, see how they fare on your stomach and then make your decision that way. Right. Um, so this one's asking about raw milk. Do you consume raw milk? How do you buy it? Why is it better? Um, does it raise estrogen? No. So like the raw milk is just unpasteurized. It's going to have more naturally available IGF and colostrum. It's gentler on the stomach, has more of the nutrients available, that hasn't been uh, uh, pasteurized out, and better absorption on the gut. So sometimes if people have an autoimmune disease or an intolerance to milk, they can withstand this. Now, that's just an intolerance, like a lactose intolerance. If you're allergic to dairy, to where you break out in hives or you anaphylactic, you can't breathe, I would just avoid dairy because that's an allergy. But an intolerance, I think that is totally fine. It's harder to get in some states because they do not sell it. You have to find a farmer that sells it, and it'll say not for human consumption, but you can totally consume it. So you just go to some of those private farms where they sell. Usually, if you go to like small mom and pop nutrition stores that look um, kind of like holistic, they might sell it there. But if you go online and you search for like buy a whole cow or half a cow, typically those farms, if you ask them, they probably have it. Same thing with like free range, uh, roaming chickens. They have their eggs as well, so they're not on a vegetarian diet or soy diet. But them, I mean, I would give the raw milk a go. It has a different flavor to it and different textures. It is thicker, but some people run the risk of having food poisoning from it, from bacteria strands. But again, I don't, I don't know how much of that is what else they ate that day. So I would be more inclined to think that whatever else they were eating prior to drinking the raw milk is probably what gave them some sort of foodborne illness or a disruption to their gut microbiome because raw milk can help heal the gut lining and help the um, help reduce gut permeability. So I would say go ahead and jump on that train and drink some raw milk. Okay, this person, you're asking about my thoughts on the sucralose research. That was way back in the day. It's a couple of years ago, I think. Uh, from what I remember reading, they injected the brain cells of mice, lab lab grown mice, which these mice are bred and genetically modified to bring out specific DNA strands that are linked to cancer, so they will be more prone to cancer risk. Plus, rats have like a 12 times metabolism than us, so everything's different with rats. And we'd have to even look at what the weight, like whatever they're consuming, and then their body weight. We have to do some adjustments to that for our body. So the amount of sucralose that we'd have to consume for us to have some sort of genotoxicity would be uh, too much for our body to handle, and we'd probably just get severe diarrhea or um, or just like very sick from it. So we might end up throwing up or just dehydrating ourselves through diarrhea, and that would cause some issues with our GI tract and our gut microbiome. So I don't see any risk of cancers. Same thing with this whole forever chemicals and these phytoestrogens. We have we have organs in our body that help us to eliminate these, metabolize them, and our body's not dumb. I think what happens is that we have so many different things coming into our body, and I think it's overconsumption of the the processed foods and the sedentary lifestyles. and the over-the-counter drugs that we take to control pain management or inflammation, and then the alcohol, and then whatever other drugs that we're taking. So and then the high stress life, the less time spent outside in the sun, touching the ground, the less resistance exercise. I think there's so many different things out there that are causing a higher risk for cancer cells, uh, and DNA mutations. I don't think sucralose at its tiny, tiny amount is going to be that much of a trouble. Now, you have other options out there that I wish they would use more, but it's just the cost. So like monk fruit, allulose. I'm a big fan of allulose. Allulose seems to be able to help with hunger as well. So, like how many people are jumping on the GLP-1 agonist train, the allulose seems to be able to help. Uh, I, I I don't know if it actually increases leptin output, but I think it's more of a mediator to where it doesn't increase granulin, but it also doesn't increase leptin. So I think you feel an overall satisfaction, and you're not going to have the slowing of the GI tract if that's like a side effect that you get from higher doses of the GLP-1s. Now, Ozempic or semaglutide is going to be a higher risk for that, for slowing down the GI tract, because you're just trying to help with hunger. Whereas where I'm using retatrutide, it's three different modulators and bioregulators that you're not going to get that GI tract issue where it slows it down. No, I don't have a problem with it. I use it for the aversion of addictions and the food noise, but it also improves blood glucose, insulin sensitivity, lipid profiles, and so that's the reason why I use it. Now, again, sucralose, I drink it, I eat it, I think it's totally fine. You will start to notice that you will have bloating issues, diarrhea, upset stomach, heart, maybe it's hard to breathe because you're so bloated. And that just could be because of you retain so much water, because now it's causing an inflammatory effect because you consumed way too much. And what that is per person, it's individual. So you can't just say this many micrograms, like we're talking micrograms, this many micrograms of sucralose is going to cause this person X with leaky gut syndrome. Like we don't really know. So it's all dependent on how healthy your gut microbiome is. And if you, my opinion, if you take a probiotic, like a soil-based organism probiotic, you take it every day. I would probably split it up twice a day, one post-workout and one before you go to bed. You should have a more resilient gut bacteria and a better gut lining. So you don't have to spend tons of money on glutamine because you're trying to dose glutamine 20 to 30 grams per day. So, and glutamine is the most abundant in your body unless you have colitis or autoimmune issues with leaky gut or gut permeability or SIBO. But again, why continue to feed the body glutamine when you can stop the problem with increasing the stomach integrity? So that's where I lie on this. I'm totally fine with artificial sweeteners. I'm fine with the dyes as well. And again, I just think that it's not, these aren't the main problems. I just think that the lifestyle, the processed food, the lack of sun, the lack of resistance training, all these things, that's the problem. Because everyone says, oh, well, this food or these red dyes or these ingredients are not used in the UK. Yeah, they also don't use fluoride and they have tons of dental problems. So, I mean, so you're saying, okay, I can eat the food better over there, but then I'm also going to have maybe a higher risk of tooth decay or um, misalignment of teeth because of the jaws not being formed correctly, and because the teeth are kind of like getting weaker. And I don't see how us following what another country does like that going to improve us. I don't mind it. I'm all for it, but in the long term thing effect, the Europeans, we can see that they walk more. I think that should be the very first step. I think if America wants to improve quality of health and reduce cancer, reduce diabetes, reduce obesity, we should just mandate 10 to 15,000 steps per day. How about that? I think that's an easier way to go about than trying to say all these things. Microplastics are our problem. No, red number 4 is our problem. No, it's the artificial sweeteners are a problem. No, I mean, it's getting so asinine to think that we're trying to point out one problem whenever it's our our food and beverage industry is really what the problem is. So I think that we just try to reduce the damage hyperpalatable foods can do on a person. But even if that's the case, even if you eat less calories or you eat less phytoestrogens or dyes or whatever, and you're still obese, you're still going to have problems with cancer. You're still going to have problems with diabetes. So you're not really changing anything. A person can still be overweight by eating the same amount of cereal that they eat with or without red number 4. Your body is at risk for cancer whenever you have metabolic dysfunction and a metabolic disease like diabetes because your body's not efficient. You lack mitochondrial health and mitochondrial efficiency. So why don't we focus on those things first and then try to tackle the other things? Because that's the hardest one. Right now we're picking the lowest fruit, which in my opinion is kind of dumb. Like leave that for leave that for your interns. If you're a JFK or JFK, if you're RFK, freaking go for the high fruit, man. You're just not doing anything worthy to turn around health in America. You're just trying to get a bunch of people riled up and trying to get some votes and stuff. So mandate 10 to 15,000 steps per day. How about that? Make all parking spots a quarter of a mile away from the stores. So if you want to park, if you need to go to Walmart, you have to park across the street at this other store. And then if you want to go to that store that's over there, you got to park at Walmart's parking spots. How about that? Okay. This guy's very high triglycerides, which he does, 718. Well, his cholesterol is 207, HDL 30, LDL 73. So that is a very big difference. I would say, you got sugar in your bloodstream. You didn't give me what your HbA1c came out to, so I'm assuming you are diabetic, but a diet very low in fat, so point to, so you weigh 184 pounds. I don't know your height, and you're 28. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I would cut down your fat in your meals uh, and supplementation. You're asking for supplementation. I think it's your lifestyle. I mean, get more steps in throughout the day, cut down your fat, zero point 0.2 to zero point 0.3 grams of fat per pound of body weight, not lean mass per pound of body weight. um, Carbohydrates, you're always eating with a protein. Spread your meals throughout the day. You can use berberine, you can use omega-3, you can use um, tocotrienols if you want. I don't. I would also use alpha lipoic acid, and I would get on Sloopy, and see how that goes. So I would throw in one peptide. Um, yeah. So you have to figure out what the cause of that problem is. I don't know your lifestyle. I don't know what you're eating. I don't know any of that. And I don't know what your previous numbers were, but I would just drop down your fats, try to make your body utilize some of your fat that's already going through that's already on your body and make your body more efficient at using carbohydrates. So I would say even throw in some pancreas 4X, so like a pancreatic enzyme, while you're eating your meals with carbohydrates and fats, and see how that works out for you. You just want to be more insulin sensitive and watch your blood sugars, man. So even I'd even say if you don't like pricking your finger all the time, get a CGM and see what that looks like. But you just need to get your body um, more efficient at using carbohydrates and storing them correctly. As far as training goes, resistance training, intense training, focus on intensity, resistance training, walk, lists. So um, keep your uh, keep your cardio sessions slower and longer. And again, 10 to 15,000 steps per day. So you can do a lot of pacing. Okay. All right. So this guy's got a problem. He wakes up at 4 a.m. Or no, he works out at 4 a.m. So he wakes up at 3. He drinks 8 ounces of water, a gram of vitamin C, 20 milligrams of Cialis, and 20 ounces of black coffee. And then at about 3:30, he starts consuming a pre-workout drink, 100 grams of pineapple juice or pineapple. Maybe it's pineapple. And then 250 grams of coconut water, 40 ounces of water, 25 grams of EAAs. And then the intra, he has a quarter of a gallon, 50 grams of dextrose, 3 grams of pink salt, and 3 grams of taurine, and 5 grams of monohydrate. He'd prefer whole foods about an hour and a half before, but he cannot. He's got 3 kids, full-time job, and a lot of stress. I mean, if this isn't working for you, then I would say like this would be fine for me. The only thing I would do different is I wouldn't use dextrose. I would use HBCD, and I would use that in both your pre and intra. And you can get that at like True Nutrition. It's pretty cheap, but we'll find things on sale. A lot of places have that in stock, and it doesn't sell well because people don't understand the importance of carbohydrates. So, but you can continue doing the coconut water. I would just say water. First of all, drink more than 8 ounces of water at 3 a.m. I would probably drink like 32 ounces. But the 100 grams of pineapple, I mean, you can do pineapple, banana. I would prefer like banana. And if your blood sugar's not crashing, don't add fats. But if your blood sugar's crashing during your workout, I would definitely add a little bit of fat. I mean, I would do like a little bit of, I'd do like a slice of bread, um, some mac oil on it, like 5 grams of mac oil, so very low, and then a banana, and I slice the banana on top of it, and then um, and then you can even add honey on top of that to make yourself a little sandwich. Like it's not that much in your stomach, right? Because pieces of bread are pretty small nowadays. So like don't get the giant pieces of bread like Ezekiel. If you do Ezekiel, cut it in half. And then banana, half a banana, some honey on it. But if you like the pineapple, keep it going. Again, the coconut water, I would switch that for HBCD, and I would add in new salt. So it's potassium chloride. That's going to help replenish potassium within the cell better than potassium citrate. Potassium citrate will help with kidney stones. And then the 25 grams of EAAs, you can do that, or you can get a whey protein isolate and then just do like half a scoop of that, and you should be fine. The intra, again, replace the dextrose, and everything else is fine to me. You can even add a little bit more new salt in there if you want, because again, oh no, never mind. I take that back. Don't do that because you're taking the Cialis. Yeah, so don't add the new salt. Take that back. You don't even need to coconut water. Like you're adding Cialis. You should be fine on potassium. So yeah, don't do that. Just take out the coconut water, add in honey. It would be my go-to, and then you can replace the EAAs with half a scoop or a little bit more than half a scoop of whey protein isolate mixed in with water. Now, again, if what you're doing doesn't hurt you, then don't don't change a thing. Okay, this last thing, it's pretty similar. What do you eat for breakfast? So I do, whenever I wake up, I will drink like a prime drink, not an energy drink, but a prime drink, take my pills, and then I will do some crushed ice and a scoop and a half of whey protein isolate and uh, a scoop and a half of HBCD. So I'm trying to get so it's like 30 grams, it's like 30, 35 grams of protein, and then I'm getting 50 grams of carbs, maybe a little bit less or more, depending on the scoop. So 50 grams of carbs, 30 grams of protein is really what I'm trying to do for breakfast before I go um, and do whatever I need to do. And then I add in new salt to that. So, and I don't really measure, I just eyeball it. And then I add in 2 grams of taurine in the morning and also add in some salt. So, and it's mixed in with water. So that's what I do in the morning. That's my breakfast. And I'm not a big fan of eating solid food in the morning. That's just how I am, and I always am. It seems to just make me more sluggish. But anyways, that's it for today. I think that's enough. And if you could like, share, comment, subscribe if you even got this far, and leave any comments in the comment section. Thanks.